How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan talking about Juan Soto. A little bit of update. Obviously, things are starting to materialize on the Soto front. 5 teams, according to Randy Miller of NJ.com, have begun the bidding process for Soto. I think the idea here, and kind of the idea all along, was they wanted to get things situated by December 5th, which is the winter meetings. That way, teams are allowed to kind of move on from the Soto sweepstakes and look forward to a much more fruitful free agency. Last year, Scott Boras really dragged things out. It went all the way into spring training. Players got pissed off. Players dropped him, notably Jordan Montgomery. Guys didn't get the money they were hoping for, and it really was a bad strategy. He tried to force the market into a corner. The market said, no thank you, we're just going to wait it out. It's a long season, we can sign guys later. And ultimately, Boras had to restructure. I think he wants to get this Soto thing out of the way early. That way, the rest of the market can follow, pieces can fall into place, prices can be met, prices can be set. So when it comes to Soto, the 5 teams that are in the mix, the Yankees, of course, the Mets, Dodgers, Red Sox, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Ryan, I think we can kind of rule out the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays from this mix. I don't see them as realistic threats. I don't even really see the Dodgers as a realistic threat. I think they're more so in the mix just to keep the bidding high, and I think maybe they do have a say in this, but I don't think he ultimately picks them. I do think it's the Yankees and it's the Mets. How are you feeling at this point in the sweepstakes? Obviously, Soto, posting some stuff on social media, getting everybody riled up. It's all for, kind of negotiating tactics, trying to get fan bases excited, trying to get owners to react, and the price to eventually increase because of it. How are you feeling so far about the Yankees' chances?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what are the Yankees' chance? Is it changing? Whatever. I feel like it's the same as what it was entering the offseason. I think that's the best way for me to put it. If you thought the Yankees had a 55% chance, he's got a 55% chance now with the Yankees. If you thought he had a 60% chance, he has a 60% chance now with the Yankees. If you thought he had a 0% chance, and I guess, I would say that's wrong, but, I guess you should still feel that there's a 0% chance going back to the Yankees. I think it's impossible to say there's any information that would lean towards the Yankees either A, having better odds, or B, having worse odds. So, it's too early. Like Andy Martino said the same thing. It's too early to know a clear-cut favorite. I think that would align with a lot of the public betting odds. I think the Yankees are minus 100, minus 110. That's not a clear-cut favorite. That's just a favorite. And I would agree with that kind of assessment of the Yankees' situation with Juan Soto. They are the incumbent team. They have a strong interest in bringing him back. You can already see how that fit makes sense. He has to move teams to go to another team. So, I'm not saying that moving, he doesn't actually have to move to go play for the Mets. But I'm not saying moving literally as in the moving process would deter him, but more so he'd have to start anew somewhere. Someone would have to pry him from the Yankees. Do I think Soto has a preference to stay with the Yankees? I mean, again, we don't know the guy. I feel like that's the one thing no one knows for certain whether this is a situation of a player who wants to be a New York Yankee and is using other teams to try to drive up the bidding, or if this is a player who, just wants the biggest amount of money or the greatest amount of money or the largest sum of the pot, and is just going to sign wherever, that money is. That's what we don't know. Now, do I think Soto, if you ask me personally, do I think Soto has some sort of preference to stay? I think he would prefer to stay. I mean, I think that there is enough smoke around the idea that he would like to stay with the Yankees. I don't think that's just a one-off thing you'll hear from I don't know, Michael Kay or whatever, even though Michael Kay himself hasn't really been saying I don't think he feels pretty good about the Yankees bringing back Soto. I don't know. It's tough. This is a weird situation. I think it'll be resolved during the winter meetings. I think by the end of the winter meetings, we'll know where Juan Soto's going to sign. And, you talk about Boris and all that stuff. Blake Snell's probably signing with a team that doesn't get Juan Soto, but was involved in the Juan Soto sweepstakes, right? So same thing with Corbin Burns. So if you're a team like the Blue Jays or a team like the Red Sox or a team like the Dodgers or a team like the Mets or a team like the Yankees, if you met with Boris, you're not just probably meeting about Soto. Maybe I would assume the Yankees and Mets, their primary objective was to meet with Soto, but I wouldn't be shocked if it came out the Red Sox spoke with other Boris clients. I wouldn't be shocked if it came out the Blue Jays spoke with other Boris clients. I wouldn't be shocked if the Dodgers, it came out they just spoke to other Boris clients as well. Pete Alonso is someone who I think is only going to sign after Juan Soto signs and will sign with someone who was involved in the Soto sweepstakes. So, on top of just trying to get Juan Soto, these teams are also trying to prove to Scott Boras that they're trying to win, because a lot of these players do want to win. And I do think that's going to help the Yankees a little bit. You talk about Toronto. I would discount Toronto entirely. I know that some reports have suggested, it's not impossible, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not happening. I just don't see a world where like Soto's wants and desires align with the Blue Jays, or that the Blue Jays have the top offer on the table. I'm going to rule out the Dodgers because Jeff Passan said that they probably aren't. Jeff Passan said that they're not going to like chase him desperately. The Red Sox, I feel like, are the third team. Like, I think they are the third. Like, I'd be shocked, but like I wouldn't be more shocked if they got him than the Blue Jays or the Dodgers. But I think it's a far shot. I think it's a long shot. I think it's like 55% Yankees, 45% Mets, and then like I'm gonna go 0% Red Sox, 0% Blue Jays, 2% Dodgers. I guess. Like, I think it's a Yankees Mets race. This is a 2-horse race in my eyes, and we'll see kind of where that goes from there. I don't know. I'm kind of nervous for this. We're right there, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as 50-50. Like, it could be Yankees or it could be Mets. Now, breaking down what the difference is between these two teams. I think that Steve Cohen, whatever the bidding is, he's going to say higher. He's going to be that guy at the auction that just raises his hand, raises the stick, every time that the bidding gets higher and higher. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the last man standing when it comes to finances, right? Like, he's going to give Soto the most money out of anybody. Now, the question is it going to be $1 million more than the Yankees or $50 million more than the Yankees? That's going to be what really determines the outcome of this sweepstakes. Now, from a Yankees perspective, you have, based on what the salary looks like right now, they had $303 million active total payroll last year. They have $230 right now. So they have $73 million at their disposal if they want to reach the exact same measure of last year's spending. $50 million per season for Juan Soto makes a lot of sense, right? Like, that's, $700 million over 14 years. It makes a lot of sense to go in that direction. $50 million per season. Yankees can afford it. My question is, like, what's the red line? What's the line that you don't cross for Juan Soto? What's the line that Brian Cashman has or Hal Steinbrenner has that's just too expensive? Is it 55? Is it 60? Aaron Judge is not making anywhere close to those numbers. So it's like, I think $60 million per season. I don't even think it gets there. I don't even think Steve Cohen goes there. I could see $55 million per season being the maximum. What can you do with $55 million, right? That equals Corbin Burns and Anthony Santander. If you combine those two salaries, that's $50 million per season. Those two. How about Bregman and Corbin Burns, or Willie Adames and Corbin Burns, or Blake Snell and whoever? You could really flip flop here. The thing is, we talked about this yesterday, Ryan, and like, you have to get really creative if you miss out on Juan Soto. If you want to rebuild this team to be a championship contending team, Brian Cashman is going to be working all winter trying to supplement that loss of production. The easiest way is to extend Soto. You don't lose that production. You add pieces around him. Steinbrenner has already made it evident and apparent that they're going to be making upgrades this year. And upgrades doesn't mean putting a prospect in left field and a prospect at second base. Upgrades means getting Soto and then adding another big piece or two. That's what that means. Steinbrenner also said they have the ability to sign any player they want. This is going to be a true and tried bidding war. Like, Steve Cohen gave us Aaron Judge without a fight. He did not go after Aaron Judge. He didn't even try to bid for him. He said, you know what, Hal Steinbrenner, you let me get into the position I'm in with the Mets. I'm not going to go after your superstar face of the franchise. But when it comes to Juan Soto, this is going to be a real battle of the big guys. It's going to be really interesting to see how this unfolds, Ryan. But I'll ask you this. When it comes to finances, do you think that Steve Cohen's just going to keep upping the ante, keep going up, keep raising the cost? What can the Yankees do to combat that? It could be sponsorships, endorsements, legacy. What are you selling to Juan Soto if you're Hal Steinbrenner if you can't beat the Mets financially?
Well, here are a couple of things that I kind of have thought about during this bidding process, or not bidding process, during this free agency saga. The Yankees... It's the Yankees who I think have to remember that they financially benefit from having Juan Soto on their team. There are a few players who, on their own, drive revenue and drive fan interest the way that Juan Soto does. And losing Juan Soto and losing his talent and losing his allure and all that stuff is probably more detrimental to the Yankees than Juan Soto leaving for Juan Soto, if that makes sense. Like, if Juan Soto goes to the New York Mets, he's going to be the most popular player on the New York Mets the second he steps onto the roster, quite honestly. And that's saying something because Francisco Lindor is an extremely beloved player in Queens. So, I think Soto walks in and immediately becomes the most, I don't know, I would also say the best player. That one's a little closer to me. Lindor, I view Lindor very highly across the league. If he walks to the Boston Red Sox, he is the most beloved athlete in Boston, right? Like, not just like, I wouldn't know. I don't know if Juan Soto would be the most beloved athlete in New York because, I think Jalen Brunson might be the most beloved athlete in New York just because the Knicks have a larger share of the NBA market than I would say the Yankees or Mets do of the MLB market. But like Soto will be the most beloved player in Boston, and yes, that's over Jason Tatum or all those guys. I mean, it's the Boston Red Sox a little bit different. If he went to the Dodgers, I don't think he'd be the most beloved player over there, but he'd also probably win like 7 championships. So I don't think he really cares either way. The Yankees have stuff to offer to him. They have continuity. I know that yesterday Martino talked about like maybe they don't have that to offer, but I mean that in the sense of like just being in New York, you know what I mean? And being, having a potential relationship with Hal Steinbrenner, something that I thought that meeting was very beneficial for that. I think Soto and Steinbrenner, I think that relationship is something that's going to be close to watch if these two are able to come to an agreement on a deal. And then they also should be able to offer the most money or as much money as everyone else. I'm not saying that they're going to, but they should be able to. The New York Yankees, right? Like, your desire should be directly tied to your dollar, right? When you want something, you pay more for it. I mean, that's just a fact, right? When you really want something, when you really want someone, you really pay a lot of money for them. So, if they just have to keep matching the Mets offers. I know that everyone kind of sits here and says, well, Steve Cohen's going to go to an absurd number, and maybe he does, but I feel like it's all something the Yankees can do as well. You mean to tell me that Steve Cohen and David Stearns don't have walkaway numbers? I know Hal Steinbrenner publicly said he doesn't have one. I know deep down he has one, right? I know deep down he has a walkaway number. Whatever that number is, it's going to be hard to figure out what that number should be, but I know both of them do. You think either of them want to pay $800 million for Juan Soto? No. Like, I don't think either of them want to. And I don't even know if the GMs, if you ask Brian Cashman and David Stearns for their walkaway number, it's probably lower than Hal Steinbrenner and Steve Cohen's walkaway numbers. So you get what I'm saying here? Like, one of these two teams are going to have to blink at an uncomfortable number. I think the Yankees have to realize the Mets have to up the Yankees offer. The Yankees just have to match the Mets offer. You keep putting pressure on the Mets to go greater and greater and greater and try to, if they make a $1 billion offer, I think you and I could sit back and go, it took $1 billion to sign him. I get it, right? I get if he walked. I get letting him walk at that point. But if it's 750, just match the 750. I'm sorry, right? Like, the collection of players, we talk about the plan B. And everyone's like, they'll sign Bregman and this guy and that guy. They're going to spend $100 million in free agency. Are you kidding me? No, they're not going to run a $340 million payroll without Juan Soto. Are you kidding me? And also, the arrogance to assume that every top free agent is just going to fly over to the Yankees because the Yankees didn't get Juan Soto. I think that's crazy as well. You're going to have to enter bidding wars. You're going to pay uncomfortable contracts. How comfortable do you feel paying, Alex Bregman for 8 years? How comfortable do you feel paying Corbin Burns for 9 years? I don't feel that confident doing that or that comfortable doing that. You know how comfortable I feel paying Juan Soto for 15 years? I'll sleep in my bed like a baby paying Juan Soto for 15 years. That's how I think the Yankees should view this. Also from a financial flexibility standpoint, could you imagine attaching yourself to like 2 or 3, 5, 6 year deals? Like, you're never getting under the luxury tax. You will never get under the luxury tax over that stretch. You just signed Soto. You can get under the luxury tax. If you give Santana a 1-year deal or you give Walker a 3-year deal, there are windows for you to get under that luxury tax. It does not exist if you go Walker, Bregman, Adames, this guy, that guy. Nah, you go get Soto. Like, he's just the most logical dollar to spend. I feel like a lot of people are ignoring that. Hal is a good businessman. Like, for all the things he is, he's a pretty good businessman. I'd be shocked if he was so oblivious to the fact that Soto makes him more money than the other guys and that Soto costs less than, going on and doing a plan B.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The ultimate decision here is simple, and I'll leave it at this. You bring back Juan Soto, you pay him what you have to, you give him what you have to give, because he immediately makes you World Series contenders for the next decade. You know what I mean? Also, the injury risk of bringing in 3 different players, there's going to be one of them that flops. Like, you bring in Juan Soto, you're getting elite production every single year. That guy wakes up. You said it. How many times you said it? He wakes up out of bed with a 400 OBP. Like, you don't find players like that off the freaking street, man. Like, you have to be a superstar to do that type of thing. You're going to get Anthony Santander. I'm willing to bet any amount of money he regresses. Corbin Burns' strikeout numbers are regressing, and you're going to be paying him top dollar for a long time. There are a lot of players that are going to regress because they're 30 years old. They're coming off their best seasons. Like, you can't take that risk. Like, you're spreading the wealth around. Bregman's 30 years old, great player, always has been, elite defender. But when does he hit that wall? You know, Willy Adames, like, he's a questionable. You can't play. I really don't trust him at any place but shortstop. He's a questionable defender there. He had a really bad, negative 16 defensive runs saved this past season. Like, he was horrible defensively. Now he's a power hitting shortstop, and you're not a huge OBP guy, but the power is obviously very, very attractive, and somebody's going to pay him. Could be the Dodgers. I think if you're the Yankees, you know what works. You know what's going to be the easy answer. You know what the easy solution is. You know what you have to do, so you don't have to be overly complicated trying to pick up the pieces this year. I think Soto also wants to stay. I think him and Steinbrenner will have a long-term good relationship. I think eventually Judge will hit a wall. Eventually Garrett Cole will hit a wall. Soto will be the face of this franchise for like 10 years. Like, that's how young he is. That's how good he is. Being the face of the Yankees is different than being the face of the Mets, right? Like, let's say the face of the Mets right now is Lindor. Lindor is not getting the same amount of attention that Aaron Judge is getting right now. Lindor is not getting the same amount of attention that Soto is getting as the second fiddle on the Yankees. You know what I mean? Like, you are the face of the Yankees. It is a different ball game. And if he goes to the Dodgers, he'll be buried behind Shohei Ohtani. He'll be buried behind Mookie Betts. He'll be buried behind some of these superstar players. Like, he'll just be another key in the cog, key in the ignition. Like, he won't be the face. If you're the Yankees, man, Soto, he was already eaten to some of Judge's share as the face of that franchise in just his first season. Like, this is, I mean, if you're obviously, I'm biased. Obviously, I want him to be a Yankee, but I also understand, like, the Yankees give him the best future as the face of that organization and develop like a true legacy here. He'll be enshrined forever as a Yankee. I don't see, from a legacy perspective, the choice is easy to me. Financial perspective, $700 million, $750 million. He'll make it up in endorsements throughout the course of his career with the Yankees. I don't really see the big difference. He'll never be able to spend $750 million in his life. In multiple lifetimes, he could never spend that much money, even if he tried. So, looking at the situation at the moment, Yankees are going to give him a competitive offer. I'd be very surprised if he passed on it. I think it's 50-50, but in reality, I think it's more like 60-40 Yankees-Mets. We'll see how things go. Obviously, want to keep him long term. I think that they'll put their best foot forward, and we'll keep you guys updated as things materialize over the next couple of days. I think it will happen pretty fast, leading up to the winter break, so things should unfold pretty quickly. But as always, my friends, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great Thanksgiving if we don't talk to you guys until afterward, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.